What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Swanky Disc Golf Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to be counting down our favorite disc releases of 2025. It's hard to believe 2025 has already come to an end, and it's also hard to believe that disc manufacturers continue to impress us and come out with new innovative molds, and we're going to talk about our favorites here today. I'm joined by Josiah and Reed, and I am Luke. And we're super excited to be talking about disc golf with you here today. Before we jump into it, want to let you guys know a very special announcement. By the time you're watching this and it's gone live, we have just released these brand new Swanky Christmas discs. Talking about some of our favorite discs that came out this year. One that came out kind of technically last year, that is absolutely one of our favorite discs on the planet, is the Axiom Tempo. Another one of our favorite discs on the planet is the Axiom Hex, and we got this really sick Swanky Christmas stamp, put on some really beautiful hexes and tempos. Some of these hexes look so good. They have swirly rims. Super awesome with Disc Golf Deals USA. You can go to discgolfdealsusa.com to pick these up. And if you use our link, which is discgolfdealsusa.com/swankydiscgolf, you can get 10% off your order. Pick these up. They make a really awesome Christmas present, obviously, and it is also a huge way to support us here at Swanky Disc Golf. Thank you so much to everyone who has stayed with us over the years and supported us. This is a really, really cool way to support us and just get some sweet, sweet Axiom plastic with this cool Christmas stamp. So again, that's Swanky discgolfdealsusa.com/swankydiscgolf to get 10% off your order, and you can pick these up today. Really, really cool. We're so excited about this. We are super thankful for Disc Golf Deals USA. They've been an awesome partner and supporter of the channel. So even if you're not picking these up, you can pick up any disc with our link and get 10% off. They have thousands of discs in stock at any given moment. They're absolutely the best online retailer for disc golf supplies. And now we're going to jump into this list. Are you guys ready? We're each going to do 3. Does everybody have 3 discs from this year that are their favorite?
Oh, yeah. I have 3.
Sweet. We have 3, so it's going to be 9 total. Maybe we'll leave an honorable mention slot to round it out to 10. But we're going to count down at number 3, our number 3 favorite, and we'll go ahead and start with Reed.
Oh my goodness, the honor. Okay, thank you very much.
This is not a draft. We can pick the same discs. No pressure.
Yeah, I think this is a fun one because my number 2 and number 1 are a little bit more, I don't know, niche. This one, very popular disc. One that people were hungry for. I think the company was a little hungry for it, to be honest. It's a funny release. I'll just go ahead and say it. It's the Discraft Melita. I could tease it forever.
Ooh, yeah.
I think this is a really great disc, but it has some competition, right? Because it is being dropped in with essentially the same numbers as the best-selling disc of all time, ? I don't have any stats to prove that. But
they claim it's the most popular disc. They don't say the most sold, but
yeah,
the most popular disc of all time is
I think it tops
Discraft's
the charts.
tagline.
Maybe the AVR or something, the Destroyer, I don't know. But the Buzz from Discraft, obviously one of the most popular discs of all time. The Melita introduced into the Macbeth line because the mid-range line for Macbeth was really lacking, right? I mean, the Malta is very almost unusable for most people. I think it's one of my least favorite overstable mid-ranges from Discraft, or really, I mean, I'm not going to trash it too much, but it's not a comfortable disc in my hand. But the Melita makes so much more sense. It's such an accessible disc for a beginner. And they really, because it's the Macbeth line, they don't trample too hard on the Buzz. They claim it's a little more understable than the Buzz. Disc golf has this way of that not really mattering so much, right? Because it depends on the run. Like the consistency from mold to mold changes so much. So like, yeah, maybe the Melita is a little bit more understable. on like over 100 buzzes versus 100 Melitas. Maybe they're a little bit more understable. So that's great. You can grab a beginner can grab a Melita and it'll fly maybe a little bit like a pro throws a buzz. That's great. It's really accessible. So I think it was a great release from Discraft, a great strategic release. It's a disc that they didn't have technically in this lineup. So I think it was a great release for 2025 and a disc that I personally really enjoyed to throw.
Yeah, absolutely. I said a really good comp is the Pathfinder, which I have historically said the Thought Space Pathfinder flies in between a Buzz and a Buzz SS, which is such a tiny margin.
Right.
But it really does. It's like, it's not, the numbers on the Buzz are 5.4, -1.1, for them to try and say, like, let you know it's not actually -1.1. It's a little bit overstable. It's more like a 5.0.1 or 5.4 -1.1. But it's not as understable as a Buzz. It flies a lot like the Pathfinder, and it honestly feels a lot like a Pathfinder.
It does,
which is an incredible disc. So yeah, awesome disc. I really liked that release. Josiah, what do you got at number 3?
All right, for number 3, this is a disc that the flight of this is kind of the flight that I have fallen in love with over the last couple of years, because it flies very similar to the Mint Discs Grackle, which is one of my all-time favorite discs of all time. But going off of mini Paul Macbeth, who is now taller Paul Macbeth, Anthony Barella's Sagara that came out this year.
Nice, yes.
So I think that fairway driver, that 7-speed, 8-speed. But what I'm really looking at is that -1.2. I don't know what it is, but the last few years I've really fallen in love with that because I think it's just so you can use it in almost any situation. Like you can get your flip up hyzers, you can get sometimes a little turnover, you can get a pushing hyzer where it'll always fade, and it's so versatile because you can also use it a lot on forehands. When I first got into disc golf, I was like, man, it has to be able to handle torque, and once it gets even a little flippy of a disc, I couldn't figure out how to throw forehands. Obviously, as some people get better, you can learn how to throw flip up forehands and things like that, but this is one that makes it really easy to learn how to throw forehands with kind of a flippier disc. So I'm really falling in love with that -1.2 on stability numbers and flight numbers just in general. And especially kind of with where I live, high up in elevation, this runs much more stable. However, when I do go down, to Denver or to sea level, things like that, it's still a disc that is like, no, that definitely has to come with me. So that style of run. So Cigar is a really good addition to Discraft's lineup. Super cool to see Anthony Barella throwing it, but I think this is one of my favorite of the year.
It was so good. Yeah, that's a great fairway, great pick.
Yeah, and people love the Cicada already, which I think is -1.1. It's the same disc, but a little bit more straight flying than understable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, money mold, money disc, money plastic. Got a couple. Oh my goodness, this is actually going to be crazy because my number 3 is also a Discraft disc.
Yo, good job this year.
So we're going, made the top 3 on all of our lists, which is pretty crazy considering Discraft's been around forever.
Yep.
And they're still putting out molds that we love, which maybe there's a super solid chance they're just recycling and putting new branding on stuff, but whatever. We'll take it. Like when the Passion came out and they said it's literally just the old, I think it was called the X set or something like that. No, not X set. That's Temu. It was called the something else. It was
called the X. I can't remember. Yeah, there was an X.
It was something.
I can't remember what that was.
There was a mold from Discraft that basically went out of production because nobody was buying it. They brought it back because Paige Pierce said she really liked that disc and called it the Passion, and everybody loves it. Yep. And so it's like maybe they're just doing that. Yeah. But my number 3 is the Zone SS. I actually really like this disc. I think it's long overdue from them. And I was skeptical at first because I didn't love the Zone OS. I want to say I know a lot of people absolutely adore the Zone OS. It's a really cool disc. It is super beefy. In my opinion, it from the other discs in Discraft's lineup where it goes from like Buzz to Buzz OS, the Zone to the Zone OS seemed like a much wider margin of change in the disc. So I like in my mind I was expecting something that's like a Toro or like a Yarn that is more overstable than a Zone, but it's not like a completely different disc. The Zone OS felt to me like a completely different disc. It didn't feel hardly anything like a Zone. What was that one like crazy, ridiculously silly, overstable disc you used to throw, Josiah, from, I think it's from Infinite Discs?
Oh,
You know what
the
I'm talking about? I
crossbow.
think it was the Archer or the
Yeah, the
crossbow.
crossbow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's
Forgot
basically a
about
tilt, but a four
Yeah.
speed.
Oh, yeah.
And it really, yeah. This, in my opinion, was a correction on that. And the Zone OS is just a slightly more understable Zone. It does not fly like a crazy understable disc. Like if you would have went the other way, the way they went with the Zone OS, you would have had a crazy understable 4-speed instead of a slightly understable Zone. But what we got is a slightly understable Zone that just feels like a beat-in Zone straight out of the box. The numbers are 4-4 and -1-2 again. I guess we're just high on those -1-2 numbers.
Yep.
But it felt great. I bagged it. I threw it a couple times in a tournament, and I was very surprised at how reliable it was at being slightly overstable, but not as overstable as a Zone. I really liked it a ton more than I thought I was going to. If you haven't tried it yet because you're very skeptical, I would say pick it up. It flies like a really beat-in Zone, just straight out of the box, which does mean it will beat in to be even more understable, but I think that's okay. I think a lot of people are looking for that. We comped it to a tempo. I think the tempo is a tiny bit more overstable, but marginally. And a lot of people are leaning on the tempo as their primary overstable approach disc. And the Zone SS is pretty darn similar to the tempo. Which, by the way, you can get some really cool swanky Christmas tempos at discgolfdealsusa.com/swankydiscgolf for 10% off. But yeah, Zone SS really surprised me. I love that Discraft does the whole like, here's your disc, here's your SS, here's your OS version. Super cool, long overdue. That's my number 3.
Yeah, I
the
haven't
Zone SS was a
gotten
great
my
release.
hands on that. Yeah, I haven't got my hands on one yet to throw it, but I know I'm going to love it when I do.
Yeah. It'll basically just be a Zone in Colorado.
Zone Colorado edition. That's so funny.
All right, Reed, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is the Simon Line Balance. This one is like not the most. I think this is going to probably go down as maybe Simon's least popular release. There's a few reasons. I think that he has a few incredible releases with MVP already, and a few incredible coming down the pipe that we've already heard about. But the balance has been the subject of the Simon Line's attention for nearly a year now, after it technically dropped in 2024, right, with the gyro box. That's the first ones we got our hands on. And then they tinkered with it for like 6 months, it feels like, before they finally released it. There was the V1, V2, V3, and then there was debacles with Essential Disc. I don't know if that played into the delay of the release or what, but anyway, they finally dropped the disc, and it's a good disc. It's like, I'm really into throwing mid ranges right now. I basically only throw mids when I'm playing at like Mulberry and everything. I've just decided to put down my drivers for now. Mids are all I need, and they're so controllable, and I really am enjoying both this like really understable mid-range and also this borderline really overstable mid-range. And so the balance is nice. I really enjoyed how flat the top was. Of course, the plastic was incredible. Axiom plastic is always incredible. But it sort of just played with the line for me on how overstable it could be before it started being more utility than throwable. Especially those first ones. But the more recent balances are less like that. They're less towing the line and more like, okay, I can actually throw this and get it to move down a tunnel and then fight left and probably skip. It's very overstable. I compare it to the Prodigy MX2 that's in my bag right now, but I think it's a touch less overstable and flat. So it just has that hand feel that feels really good. If you're a forehand thrower, a lot of people avoid forehanding mid-ranges. You could really this one's not that overstable, so you're going to have to throw it with touch, but it's overstable enough that this could be a great intro disc for you to start learning how to forehand mid-ranges. I think it sounds silly because it's a Simon line release. I think it's a sneaky good disc that a lot of people have tried and maybe gone away from because the V1 wasn't what they expected. Try it again. I think the one they actually released is really good.
Yeah, 100%. We posted a top 10 disc release video on our main channel that was a little bit more trying to be objective, less subjective, still a little bit subjective, but I included the balance on there for that reason. It's a really usable mid-range on backhand and forehand and everything in between. It's a super great disc, and overmolded mid-ranges are comfy as heck. There's no real way to say it. You got to try it for yourself if you haven't. But things like they already have my issue is they already have the Pyro and these other discs that are super beefy mid-range kind of style discs. And the balance, I think, needed its own kind of slot. And also, if you wanted any amateurs to like it, you probably needed it to have it not be a Discmania mutant. So, really solid release. I like it a lot. And actually, we got a lot of feedback from people saying that is my absolute favorite disc of this year.
Wow, that's not what I expected to hear, but that's really cool. Glad people are.
I mean, it's the Simon line, right?
Yeah, it's hype.
It's the Simon effect, yeah. All right, Josiah, what do you got at number 2?
All right, I feel like this is going to play out kind of funny when all is said and done with our number 1s. But my number 2 is kind of unique to just how I like to throw discs, but also staying in MVP family, but not overmolded. I'm going with the Notaberg Streamline Range.
Nice.
And one of the reasons I like it is, so I've experimented the last few years with fan gripping. When I first started playing, I only ever power gripped anything, like approach shots, power shots, tee shots, approach, all of it. And I've kind of been experimenting with fan grip, and I don't kind of like the way how it seems to rip off the skin on my fingers when I throw fan grips sometimes. However, when we got the Armadillo from Lone Star, I found out that for some reason a thumb track helped me a lot with throwing fan grip. And so I will use fan grip a lot when I need a lot of control on what I'm doing. I feel like, similar to when you say, oh, I want to throw a forehand because I can see where it's going and I know where it's going to go. That, and whereas if I'm doing a full reach back on a power grip for a backhand, then I feel like I might miss my line by a lot. However, if I fan grip, I feel like I'm never going to miss my line, similar to a forehand. So that's why I've kind of been I just feel like I have a lot more control. So that's why I really like the range. My Armadillo is not the same run of Armadillos that exist now. It's super flippy, and at this point, it's super beat in. That the range kind of falls into the flight that I loved that when my Armadillo was at that kind of stability. So it's got a lot of glide, it's not, you're going to throw it and it's going to drop. It's going to glide a little bit. You can have control. It's still going to be very neutral to understable. I believe the numbers on it are 2.5, -0.5, +0.5 on the stability. For the
they
range.
love their decimals over
They
at
really do.
MVP Streamline.
Yeah, and I love their neutral discs anyway. Like any sort of neutral disc that the MVP family comes out with, I usually love. So yeah, this kind of just falls into that right for me as far as when I need control off the tee or in the woods or on an approach. Usually those under 200-foot approaches where I'm like, I don't want to, crush it past the basket on accident if I'm doing a power grip. So that's kind of why I specifically really like the range.
No, that's a really good pick. It's technically like a 2-speed, and a lot of people feel it's very different from the Berg. When I threw it, I felt like it felt to me, I called it like a Berg SS. It's definitely more understable than a Berg, but it's got almost the exact same hand feel. It's a concave, really slow disc. They give it that 2-speed, but it could easily be a 1-speed. It could just be called a 1-speed.
Correct, and I think it's just because it's slightly more glidey, which I think is because it's slightly more understable. I think if it had the same stability of a Berg, it would be the same as Berg.
Yeah, great pick though. It's a really cool disc. I guess it's not technically a catch disc, but you could totally use it as a catch disc. I would put it in that kind of category of the like hybrid catch throw disc. But it is unique. It's definitely different than a lot of the other discs out there. So very cool. My number 2 is the Latitude 64 Peak, which is I am really high on this disc, and I know not as many people are, but the people who are, like something about it clicks with you. And I've had comments about it where people will be like, yes, no, I understand. The Peak is so incredible. It's a 3301 putter, which when you say it, it's like, that's not special at all. There's a million of those. But it is kind of different in that it has a very, very subtle bead, and Royal Plastic from Latitude 64 is so good. And it's like a slightly retooled design from what I think was probably very PA3 reminiscent. I think it was made in collaboration with Isaac Robinson. And once I got a hold of it and was throwing it and putting with it, I was like, this just makes so much sense, and I don't know why this isn't how basically every putter on the planet feels. The Royal Grand Plastic as a thrower is glossy plastic that is super durable, super glidey, but also really grippy. I don't know how they do that. They probably put all sorts of crazy chemicals in it to get that effect. It's probably horrible for the earth, but it feels so good to throw, and it flies very true to its numbers. It has a slightly overstable finish, but you can really rip on it and get a straight flight. And then on the Royal Sense Plastic, which is the more base plastic, it is like a almost soft and tacky plastic, but it's also very stiff. It's very firm, very stiff, that you want out of like crazy tough plastic from Discraft. Never really sat well with me because it didn't have that tackiness. It felt like it was always really slick in my hand. If it was cold, it was, basically an ice block. If it got wet, there was no drying it off. And the Royal Sense Plastic has kind of that tacky feel to it while still being super, super stiff and firm. It's mostly the plastic, but on this disc with a very subtle bead, I like the bead. It's very comfortable for me to putt with beads personally, and they put it on there just subtle enough to where it's like there. If you're not really a bead person, you're probably still going to like it, and maybe it'll even put you on to beaded putters. But yeah, I like the Peak a lot. It might not be the most innovative, but I, for some reason, feel like this year, just something as simple as a 3301 that's slightly beaded, that flies exactly the way it's supposed to, felt really good.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, the Peak is it's a really cool putter. I didn't throw
peak.
it a ton. It might be Peak. I didn't throw it a ton, but I think it's a really cool, like a comp putter that a lot of people, it's gonna find its way into a lot of people's bags just for the comfort, just for the hand feel. So I think it's a great disc for Isaac to be repping, the world's greatest putter, of course.
It's true.
Heck yeah. All right, Reed, what's your number 3? Or number 1?
My number
we're on our third disc, but we're on to number 1.
My number 1, and the only disc that was released this year for me that was truly like, I picked it up and immediately felt that this was different in some way. I love this thing, and I'm going to force it into my bag, and so that's what I have done. It's in my bag now, and that's the Canyon from Trash Panda. I picked this thing up, and I love Trash Panda plastic for what it is, right? It is a testament to our sport. I love everything that Jesse has done. But truly, the Canyon plastic, until I had picked up the Canyon plastic, I always thought there's something a little bit different about the plastic at Trash Panda. It's not quite the same. It's still great. It's still usable. It's not quite the same. The Canyon plastic is unrecognizable. Like, it is so good. The way that it fits in the mold, maybe it has to do with the mold, because I think they're using the same plastic for it as the other discs, but it is so good. It feels like a premium plastic. You wouldn't be able to tell it's not a premium plastic that's horrible for the environment and all of that stuff, but it's not that. It's fully recycled, and it's just, it flies incredible. I think it's a 5-speed. To me, meh, maybe. It feels like a 4-speed to me. Maybe it's a 5-speed. I don't know, but it's an overstable
it's a 4-speed. I believe it's 4402 is the numbers.
Oh, maybe it is a 4-speed.
4302.
For some reason, I was thinking it was a 5-speed. Never mind. It's a 4-speed. It is a 4-speed.
It is a 4-speed. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. That's what I was saying all along, guys. It's a 4-speed. And it's just a great disc. It fits next to my Zone. It flies very similarly to my Zone now because my Zone's so old and beat up. But I love the way it feels. I think when we were sitting there in the field just throwing it back and forth. That's a crazy disc to be throwing back and forth, like to play catch. It's like this overstable forehand disc, but we were just crushing it across the field at Mulberry playing catch with it during our tournament. Like, that disc just feels good. Picking it up, and this is the essence of it for me. Picking it up makes me want to throw it. It makes me want to have it in the bag. It makes me want to get reps with it. And there are lots of discs that's not true of. But the Canyon, it was immediately like, I need to go through this. This thing feels incredible in my hand. Disc golfers know that feeling. The Canyon I guess it's disc golf transcendent for me. It's like, boom, it was into my brain, into my heart. I need to throw this thing. Love the Canyon.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I've mentioned in our tournament we had all of Trash Panda's discs, like the whole lineup for player pack discs, and the Canyon. Everybody who got there first walked up and grabbed a Canyon until the Canyons were gone. They were far and away the favorite disc. People were literally throwing them that day, including us. Really incredible disc. Okay, now we're going to Josiah for your number 2. Or number one, sorry.
Number one.
Number one, last one.
Number one. And this is why I think it's hilarious, is because also from Trash Panda, released this year.
Nice,
is the Trash Panda Procyon. So I just thought it was funny that we had Discraft MVP trilogy and then Trash Panda is our 3-2-1 this year for me and Reed.
That is funny.
But yeah, so Procyon, I already kind of alluded to it earlier, but I have fallen in love with -1-2 stability just across the board. And I found that while the fairway drivers are a little bit more versatile in those numbers, the distance drivers are like that 11 speed -1-2 is like my go-to distance driver right now. So the Procyon and the Discraft Drive, the Latitude 64 Grace, those drivers are like my go-tos now when it comes to like I need some big distance. And that it's kind of similar if you look at like the big arm pros, they're throwing -1-3, and I'm not a big arm pro. So -1-2 fits perfectly for me. So, I've just kind of fallen in love with, Trash Panda across the board. I have loved all of their discs, some way more than others, but it's just all of their plastic is incredible, and it's just super cool to see what Jesse's doing. And I just seem to get my hands on a lot of Trash Panda discs when you do a lot of tournaments in Colorado. there's a lot of players packs that do Trash Panda, and I'm here for it. So I've got a few Canyons, like the Canyon and the Procyon were released this year, and I'm like, I already have multiples of those that I have gotten just from players packs from tournaments, and that's just a really fun time to have those discs. They're just so good quality for being recycled plastics. I love what Jesse's doing. And yeah, the Procyon is a great addition to their lineup. The Ozone, phenomenal, obviously. But yeah, so not much more I can say. But yeah, I just really love the addition of a distance driver to their lineup.
Definitely.
Heck yes. Yeah, thrown the Procyon, bag the Procyon. Definitely have been calling it the Procyon, even though Jesse has said many times that it's the Procyon. When I read it, I read Procyon.
Yeah,
Probably because I read like science fiction books, and when I read it, I'm like, that sounds like a really cool science fiction thing. But
Starship
it's not.
Procyon.
It's Procyon.
Yeah, for real.
Super sweet disc though. Yeah, I compared it a lot to a Drive. I think it's fairly similar to a Drive. Not exactly the same. It's definitely got a unique hand feel. And yeah, the recycled plastic, it's getting harder and harder to tell that it's recycled plastic. And the Canyon and the Procyon that came out this year are like next level, truly next level. Sweet. That'll bring me to my number one. Before I say it, I just want to remind you guys that you can go to discgolfdealsusa.com to support the channel and get yourself a really cool Swanky Christmas stamped Hex or Tempo. Both are like, they're basically two of the best molds on the planet. They're two of our favorite molds, and that's why we wanted to go with them. But the Swanky Christmas stamp looks really cool. It's got a Christmas basket, or a disc golf Christmas tree basket. It's super sweet. You can be sure to check that out, and if you use our link, you can get 10% off. And you can use that link anytime you want to get 10% off of Disc Golf Deals USA. Huge shout out to them. My number one is going to be the Discmania Founder.
Nice.
Which, this is also, I'm doing this kind of to just shout out this disc slot more. I was really high on the Rolo, really high on the Founder. I think a lot of people view it as a kind of meme disc, just being comically overstable. The numbers are 5, 6, -3, 1, I believe, or -4, 1. Super crazy understable, but actually very usable. Like, especially for more beginner players, but really anyone, it's really usable, especially if you get it in premium plastic. If you need to learn how to throw rollers, which can be a really handy shot to use, like you need a disc for that. If you are on a course where rollers kind of play, you need a disc for that. The Founder is going to be your go-to disc, but it's also just going to be so good for people who are trying to really master throwing shot shapes with their discs. And by shot shape, I mean like your disc doesn't just fly straight and dump to the left or the right. It's going to like fly on this one angle out to the left, flip up, come all the way to the right, and do all sorts of, you can do all sorts of crazy things with this disc. Super usable. I like the Rolo. I like the Founder just as much as the Rolo. I think every company should have one of these really comically understable discs, and I would like to see us continue to innovate with them because they're really usable. I don't like, there's probably a point where it gets to be too crazy understable. The F9 might be there in certain base plastics from Prodigy, but the Founder's awesome. Definitely check it out. That's the list, guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Again, don't forget to pick up one of these discs. They make a great Christmas present. And Merry Christmas. See you guys in the next one. Stay swanky.
Stay swanky.
Stay swanky.